it just really makes you think at times, man. Like as soon as you think you just got it figured out, sometimes there's always an additional variable that reshuffles the deck, and you got to play a whole different hand, right? So, you know, speaking from my own personal point of view, I feel like so much has changed, you know. And with that aside, let's get into the video. Y'all tapped in with the Head of the Game podcast. Y'all know what it is. You feel me? Y'all read the title. Let's get right into it. So in this economy, in this climate, this economical climate that everybody's in right now, trying to figure it out, trying to find your footing, trying to know where to navigate or what kind of mindset, you should be in to be able to weather this storm, right? That is a loaded question because so much goes into it and everybody's situation is different. So I'm going to just speak from a general standpoint on this topic. And there's a couple of principles that I just want y'all to keep in mind when it comes down to weathering storms and putting yourself in great positioning to be able to act or counteract to whatever, decides to come your way, right? So first and foremost, you have to read between the lines. And in order to be able to read between the lines, you got to minimize the distractions. And the distractions, more so times than not, but not always, is social media. So you got to get off the internet, stop being distracted, stop being entertained, stop being misled. And, you got to recenter yourself when it comes down to the information you're indulging, right? So once you have that premise, right? And I know it's hard to do because everybody like a good laugh, especially on a daily. Now, myself included, so I'm not excluding myself through that. But you have to get your priorities straight as far as taking whatever situation you're dealing with serious. And the last thing you need is a distraction, right? Because all you're doing is kicking the can down the road. After you have that established, at least within a reasonable amount, you have to understand your disadvantages and your advantages, right? So whatever financial ratio you're in, you got to be inclined to, what am I in position to be able to do to overcome this circumstance? And I feel like, just me speaking in general, having a budget, having some kind of financial formula that your income and the outcome of that income is kind of harmonizing together, right? So if you work in a job, everybody got bills. Most people are paycheck to paycheck more so than not. And I know they tell you, all right, cut back on Netflix, cut back on Hulu, so on and so forth. That helps, you feel me? Cut back on fast food. But we all got our pleasures. We like to enjoy the fruit of our labor. Well, why are we working so hard if we can't enjoy the festivities that come along with it, right? That's fair. I just want to point out the fact that, falling behind willingly and negligently, I got the word down, but just kind of putting off stuff to the side in order to live for that instant gratification instead of the delayed one is really gonna put you in a position where you're gonna be in two types of different classes when it comes down to any economical situation. Rather good or bad, there's always winners, there's always losers, right? And if you want to be on the winning team, you got to use the winning principles. Some of the winning principles are knowing how to manage your money, right? Cutting out expenses, not stressing, staying off the internet, do a lot of self-reflecting, so on and so forth. So after you establish those principles, now it's time to take some action. So let's say you're in an industry, or let's speak to my YNs for a second, right? So y'all on the come up and y'all just turned into adults and y'all like, what did I just sit up there and grow? What did I grow myself up into? I was just once young. Now I'm a young YN and we just got out of the pandemic and now we got, so much other stuff going on. When is it ever going to get back to normal? Or you don't even know what normal is because you didn't grow up at that time, right? So then maybe this is y'all new norm. Whatever. There are a couple of economical principles, especially in times like this, that in certain cases gives you a best chance to shine through. So for one, if you're looking for a new job, gotta know how to be resourceful. Gotta know how to leverage and think ahead and think outside the box, right? So rather you gotta use AI, build a resume, or rather you gotta choose a different career field, or the old school way, which is you apply somewhere, you go on Google, you look up the contact information, you make a call, and you speak to the hiring manager. And if the person that picks up the phone is like, okay, the manager's not in, but is there something you can help me with? No. Unless you leave them your name and your number, don't talk to them about that because maybe they don't want new people there. You feel me? Maybe they like it the way it is. I don't know. But that's an old school way of being able to, impose your will on most job markets, right? Regardless of what the climate, most job markets, there's always room for someone imposing their will on a direct contact sense instead of just, I put in a resume on Indeed. Voila, I did my job application. That's it. Yeah. Not say it can't work, but if you want to increase the chances, definitely got to do word of mouth for sure. What else I got on this topic, man? Well, got to be uncomfortable. Well, got to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. That being said, if you got to cut back on any vices, and this goes in the distraction category, but this is going to be a lot deeper than social media. So whether you drink, you smoke, what else you do, you feel me, around the wrong people, anything that serves as a roadblock between you and an opportunity to better yourself is a vice or distraction or something that you may not need to entirely get rid of, but you need to recategorize it, reprioritize it, right? So enough about the YNs. This next point right here is gonna be for everybody, right? At the end of the day, when it's all said and done, you gotta have a routine, you gotta have a system, right? Gotta have a routine, gotta have a system, because it simplifies things and it allows you to delegate your energy to where you're able to not feel like you pulling yourself thin. You're able to optimize and fire off all cylinders without feeling like you're gonna get burnt out and things of that nature, right? So when it comes down to, as they say, work-life balance, you got to know what system you're implementing when it comes down to your day-to-day tasks, right? Because if you're a person that has a lot of great ideas, but you don't know how to go about implementing them, then one thing can get in the way of the other, and then things become counterintuitive, counterproductive, right? So having a system, having a regimen, not only setting and planning goals, right? Because here's the good and the bad thing about goals, right? Because goals sound good in a perfect world where life don't be lifing. But you don't want to set any hard lines unless you're in position to where no matter what, you're not going to let things intervene between you and where you're trying to go. But life be lifing. So say if you want to sit up there, you want to save up for a car. right? You got a job and you know your expenses, you know your bills, and you write out a well thought out plan, like, okay, I'm gonna be able to put this amount of money to the side every month, whatever, so on and so forth. Then boom. Let's say a bill you didn't take into account comes up. Or maybe it's some debt, or whatever the case may be. You gotta know how to get hit, but also hit back. Because in most fights, punches is not only just being thrown in one direction. So when people tell you to fight, or people tell you to roll with the punches, it means just that. So implement yourself a system, buy into the system, but don't be so fixated on the superficial version of that system or that plan to where if one variable decides to be interchanged with another one, you never left room to adjust your plans. And it's not sitting up there saying like, oh, well, I'm going to give up on my plan A, so I'm going to go for a plan B. It may be reassessing your plan A because now the circumstances has changed, right? So that's all I got for y'all, man. I'm going to follow up on this topic sometime. But thanks for watching. Y'all got thoughts, comments, leave them below. With that being said, more videos on the way. I'm up out of here.